Hello, friends. It's Nancy with Astrology and Angel Mediums again with another tarot educational video to share with you guys. One of the things that I really love to use in conjunction with astrology in tarot is using the numbers. So today we're just going to talk about numbers in astrology, the meaning of them, how to utilize them to understand each of the cards, as well as different tips and tricks to just kind of add, again, another layer, a little bit of nuance. And then I feel like it's also a quicker way of learning what the cards mean before you feel a little bit more comfortable with how it all comes together. I'm going to apologize if you hear some barking. It's nice weather, so people have their animals out. So, all right. Very first thing is, as you may have noticed, the major cards are going to have the numbers 0 through 21. And in typical numerological style, you're usually going to cover the numbers 1 through 10 because we have aces through 10s in the minor arcana. And then we also have the numbers for pages, knights, queens, and kings. So we can kind of talk about how to break those down. But if we talk about the major cards, some people like to kind of break down any of the digits that go over the number 10. So obviously, there is no number with the Fool. So to me, this really represents everything and no thing. So not nothing, but no thing at all. There's nothing essentially to kind of tie it down to one specific thing. So while it is the beginning, it's also not that. It's a circle, right? It's all things encompassed in the energy of that. And that is very much the energy of the Fool. Now, this is going to be the only 0 that is inside of the actual tarot deck. So don't feel like you have to memorize that entirely too much. But if we start with the number 1 and also with the aces, so all of the ones, which would be like the Ace of Pentacles, the Ace of Swords. If I have this in the right order, I may have flipped these all around. We have the Ace of Swords, we have the Ace of Cups, and the Ace of Wands. We see, and I don't know if you guys, I'm going to try my best to kind of like do this to where it doesn't get all messed up. We see a common theme. First off, the Magician, starting off, he has one of every single item that encompasses the energies of the suit. So, and as we can see in his hand, he has a wand. So, and in all of the aces, there is a hand kind of coming through to kind of represent and hold whatever that suit or whatever symbol for that suit that we're utilizing. So one is essentially the characteristics that are going to begin the suit. It is the gifts, it's the beginnings, it's potential, it's promise. A lot of keywords would be, again, potential new beginnings. We're going to talk about opportunities. We're going to talk about the start of something. So we're kind of given this like, okay, we've gone from being all things and no things to now we're kind of going out into the world and figuring things out. If we talk about number 2, and I'm not just going to kind of split this all up or whatever, because I feel like that's going to make a big old mess with my cards. The number 2, this is going to be duality and balance, and it's very well represented by the High Priestess, but as well as all of the different suits, they all have an image. Like here we have him trying to balance both of the pentacles. Here she is trying to balance the swords. So there is, again, that duality that's in there. So 2s can also represent relationships, choices, experiences, connections, balance, harmony. And I feel like the biggest word that kind of comes through is choice when we talk about the number 2. If we talk about the number 3, 1 plus 2 is 3. So we have abundance, we have expansion, we have growth, we have creativity. There is a sense of fulfillment. The Empress is all about that fertility, that growth. And so we're seeing things kind of develop. And then another thing is that, you know, it does start to bring the power of things coming together to build something and to work together as one. And so we are kind of seeing that through the stories of like the threes. And we can even see how, you know, when you start kind of expanding in a relationship or whatever, that can cause pain, right? And so we're kind of starting to see a little bit of that. Like I know, like with the 3 of Cups, it's the people celebrating because, you know, the 2 of Cups, they have found the love. If we move on to 4, this is going to be stability and order and structure. And it can talk about stagnation as well as foundation in a lot of ways, and restriction, because I feel like this is kind of saying like, all right, we got to get it together. There's a sense of, you know, really establishing our stability. And if we look at the 4 of Wands, you know, it's like that happy marriage card of coming together and building that community and starting to kind of build what it is that we want because of that energy. If we look at the number 5, this is where we start to have conflict and trouble and unpredictability. There's conflict, there's challenges, there's obstacles, changes are very much covered by the energy of 5. And if we think of the Hierophant, he's here to kind of help us understand what we believe in a lot of ways and kind of build that tradition. And with a lot of the 5s, they do talk about that conflict. I mean, we have, let me see if I can grab one of these. Maybe I should just mess these all up and just call it a day. So like the 5 of Swords, we see that there's, you know, this person kind of picking up the swords and people walking away. We talk about the 5 of Wands. There's like, you know, somebody fighting off the people. There it goes. Fighting off things in different ways. And so it's showing us that conflict, right? So it's kind of is teaching us like, okay, the story here is because we're at the middle of the suit. That's when challenges start to pick up because we have established what we needed. And then that's when things start to begin to shift for us. If we talk about the number 6, this is going to be balance and integration and union and harmony. And it's represented by the Lovers. And so we have this sense of responsibility and rewards that comes from our relationships with others. And so there is this like sense of problem solving and equilibrium and, you know, trying to find that state of balance and connection. And if we look at, you know, like the 6 of Swords, it's very much this energy of like going where we need to get the healing that we need to do. And again, that's finding that balance. If we look at the 6 of Pentacles, it's very much about, you know, giving and receiving and finding again that kind of balance of what we need. I'm going to make a mess out of my cards for this video, you guys. If we talk about number 7, we talk about magic, spirituality. There's reflection and evaluation. I feel like it's very much about looking at our choices and options because we have the right to kind of get out there. So there may be like challenges or even responsibility and personal development that happens because of those challenges. So it's almost like saying like, okay, we had the challenges from the 5, but now this is like we're able to confront whatever's kind of holding us back in certain ways. And if we look at like the 7 of Swords, this is like he's trying to sneak away with some of the swords. If we look at the 7 of Wands, he's usually trying to defend himself against what's happening around him. And so it's almost like we don't see who is coming for him. It's almost like he's having to learn to stand his ground. And I think that that comes a lot with that sense of that reflection and evaluation of who you are and what you need. If we look at the number 8, we have this energy of recognizing what we know, what we need. It's abundance. It can talk about, our diligence, our harvest, its movement and power and progress in a lot of ways. And so it is very much about recognizing what we know, what we've learned, and what we need, while also building that structure so that we can really meet our goals. And if we think of like the 8 of Swords, this is like you're having to learn how to move past the restrictions that you've placed upon yourself. The 8 of Pentacles is like you're doing the hard work because you finally have established what it is that you're good at and what it is that you need. If we talk about the number 9, we have this like looking at the changes that we've needed to do within ourselves. Maybe there's compromises that need to be made. It's very much a card of like endings and completion. And there is also a spiritual element to this, much like the Hermit. And so we're getting this sense of like looking at everything that it's taken for us to get where we are. And if we look at some of the cards, they're kind of showing us like, okay, you're almost there, but there's like one last thing you need to kind of work through, much like the 9 of Cups, where, we see that like he's kind of chilling. He's got his cups behind him, but maybe he hasn't quite completed something. So there's something that he needs to let go in order to really receive what he's been looking for. If we go finally to the number 10, which again, each of the suits has aces through 10s. So you can apply this numerological influence to each of those cards and just kind of take the energy of that suit to kind of develop your own meaning. But the 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. And so this is the beginning and the culmination, and it's like the end of a cycle and recognizing that life is constantly moving in different cycles. And so to me, it's very much about where we've learned everything that we needed to, so we're ready to move on to the next level. We're ready to kind of heal whatever's been keeping us stuck so that we can kind of move into this next thing. And so it does bring a lot of this kind of energy where a lot of these cards, the 10s are very much of like everything coming together. Everything's like working out. The people look happy, or they've already experienced everything that they needed to. So they're ready to kind of move into the next thing. And so it is very much the completion of that phase, because once you've reached the 10 in each of the suits, you get the Court cards, which is more of like personal aspects that we're either trying to develop or work on, versus like physical lessons that we're going through, or spiritual lessons or mental lessons or emotional lessons, whatever suit you're doing and working with. Now, I like to also add a little bit of a numerological influence to the pages, the knights, the kings, and the queens. And I just kind of keep going with the numbers. So a page would be number 11. So we have like that newness kind of doubled with that 1 to kind of encourage us to kind of get out there and make choices that really encourage us on the next part of our journey. And if we look at what most of the pages talk about, it's about kind of getting out into the world. It's curiosity, it's intuition, it's, a new job. It's very much like idealism and kind of going out there. If I think of the knights, I think of their number 12. And so we have that 1, again, to kind of give us that like getting out into the world, that new beginning, getting out there. And then 2, to kind of encourage us to understand that we have to make choices. We got to kind of balance what it is that we believe in, adding to 3 and making it, kind of like this expansive thing of abundance and growth and potential. And most of the knights are kind of like, I'm getting after it. I'm going after what it is that I want. The queens are going to be 13. So again, we have a 1 and a 3. A 3 is, to me, very much about connection, community, and all of that, and stabilizing things. Most of the queens are the ones that are kind of beginning to bring everything together to stabilize things as necessary and as needed. And then the kings are going to be 14. So we have that 1 and that 4. 4 to be more of like that stabilizing force, while also being ready to kind of deal with conflict, changes, and the transformation into the next suit, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how I like to do the numerological influences. And you can also break down these cards down to just like single digits or up to 10. But one of the things that I also like to add in a lot of my readings is if I have a particular set of cards, let's say I'm doing a 3-card spread, and then I have like specific numbers, I like to focus on the energies of those numbers. So if there's a lot of like one particular number, I will mention it. And then I like to kind of break everything down to see what does it all add up to, because that may tell me the overall theme. And I've also been told that you can almost look at it as like the secret tarot card. So let's say I have a reading, it all breaks down to, let's say, the number 3. Then I can say, oh, okay, maybe this all relates to the energy of the Empress. Maybe this all relates to that sort of significant lesson that the Empress may bring. And if the Empress hasn't shown up, then it's kind of adding an extra thing to kind of reflect on or journal on or to kind of keep in mind. But let's say everything added up to 21. I would not break that down any further. I would just be like, this would be the world. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. I do think that utilizing numerology and the number influence is very beneficial to helping you add, again, another little layer to kind of have a deeper understanding of how that energy may work. Or if there's a lot of one number, maybe there's something out of balance there or that needs to be reflected on. And that's essentially kind of how I do a lot of my readings. I hope that that made sense. I wish you the best of luck on your tarot journey. And I want to say thank you for joining me with some of these videos. I am trying to figure out what I want to do moving forward, since this is kind of like the last video I had planned regarding, this educational series of tarot. So let me know what you guys are also curious about. Maybe I can talk about different card spreads or different tarot decks that I like or whatever, or maybe I'll do a specific video for every single card in the deck, which that's a lot of videos, but it's also fun. And I think that it can also be very educational for those that maybe want a little bit more nuance or connection to each of the individual cards. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good one. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.